Welcome to a New Human Podcast. This show is a place where we find out who we truly are and what we strive to be. Listen as we unravel current history and make our way to a new beginning. I am your host, Justin Klein. Today on the New Human Podcast, we have Dr. Barb Fox, and she's on here to kind of share some stories of how she got into the holistic route. I know that word can be big, but what that all entails for you and how your path started to change from being just a veterinarian to what you're currently doing. Barb, can you elaborate on that?
I absolutely can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I graduated from Iowa State University in 1994 as a conventionally trained veterinarian. And so I did all the surgeries, the drugs and medications, everything I was taught to do in vet school. And then in 2007, I had a very serious health scare. I was diagnosed with a very aggressive breast cancer. And at that point, I was devastated because I knew nothing about the body's own ability to heal itself. And I also didn't know, well, let's put it this way, Justin. My mom died from uterine cancer 3 years before I had that diagnosis.
No.
And I saw her go through all the experimental treatments, the horrific things that they do to people. And I decided at that point, if I was ever unfortunate to have that cancer diagnosis myself, that I would not go through what she went through.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was diagnosed with that breast cancer, I turned to everything I possibly could. I was already seeing a massage therapist.
Yeah.
And she encouraged me to see this other practitioner who was a chiropractor. And I'm thinking, well, how can a chiropractor,
Yeah.
help me with a
Cancer.
with a cancer diagnosis?
Mm.
But she was a breath of fresh air. So when I went to my OB-GYN for the results of the mammogram and the biopsy that I had, the look of doom and gloom was just there in that medical office. My blood pressure was sky high that day too, because I was so incredibly stressed. When I went, yes, absolutely. And I went to the chiropractor after I did my patient information form. She picked up the chart and she goes, well, Barb, I see you have a temporary health challenge. When do you want to get started? And I went, oh my gosh, a temporary health challenge. I had just been given the doom and gloom talk from my conventionally trained doctor, and here she is giving me that glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
And so I started seeing her on a regular basis, and she did energy work. And at the time, I didn't know what energy work was, but she did hands-on healing.
Mm-hmm.
She also had what they call sympathetic resonance light therapy, which was amazing because it put the right frequencies into the human body, into my body, so that it could help heal itself. And then, of course, essential oils, homeopathic remedies, and supplements. And I followed her protocol to a T. And in a year and a half, I was feeling pretty darn good. I felt better than I had in 30 years.
Did you do chemo or radiation or
No
any of
chemo
that?
or radiation. The only medical intervention I had, Justin, was I had the lump removed.
Mm-hmm.
They call it a simple lumpectomy.
Yep.
But I kept all my other tissues. Nothing else. No lymph nodes came out. Actually, my lymph nodes were clean. And that was a miracle because I had gone to a healer the week before the surgery, and she asked Spirit, the divine, to round up all those cancer cells so that the surgeon could take everything out that he needed to do. And when I was in recovery, the surgeon came and talked to my husband and said, that was the strangest thing. He said it was like this tumor had this thick capsule around it.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I've never seen anything like it before.
Mm-hmm.
And then I knew that energy work from that, those practitioners was working.
Right.
Yeah.
How did you, or what guidance led you that way then? Was it just because of the doom and gloom scares? You're like, I'm not going to come back here. Or, I mean, again, can you reiterate, like, how did you deep dive down all those different holes?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
After seeing my mom and seeing what she went through. I wasn't a healthy person at the time I had the cancer diagnosis. I had things like fibromyalgia, which I know is kind of a term in itself. I had severe allergies. I'd been in anaphylactic shock twice. I had gastrointestinal issues, and I had a bunch of skin issues, and respiratory too. And I just thought, well, that's part of aging because I was 50 at the time I got the diagnosis.
How did you get into the holistic route? Because you were saying
Oh,
you had
yeah.
all of these issues going on with your, well, you weren't very healthy, you were saying. But what I'm getting at is like most people don't pursue the holistic route until it's too late. It's like, I'm going to stick with my doctor's plan. This is what he says. This is what I'm going to do. And then, tables start turning and they're not feeling better, and it's like, okay, now I'm gonna, at least for us, that's what we're running into,
Right.
is like we're always like the last call, and it's like, man, it'd be nice if we were the first call. You know what I mean? Because like
Right.
your example, that's where I was getting at. Like, how did you get in to that so quickly, or know what to do? Because I believe for your case, like if you would have probably went the other route, it would have went slower and slower, and then maybe eventually you seeked out an energy healer or a chiropractor. But I'm curious of how you got there.
Well, I tell you what, I was more scared of the chemo and the radiation than I was
Yeah.
the disease itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was given that glimmer of hope by my chiropractor, I
Mm-hmm.
decided that's the way I want to go.
You trusted her
I
fully.
trusted her fully, and that
Mhm.
was a total God thing. That
Yeah.
wasn't something that I had to sit there and research. It was just
Mhm.
like, this feels right to me.
Mhm.
And I knew, just intuitively knew that if I went the conventional route, I'd die. I
Mhm.
think the treatment would have killed me because I
Mhm.
wasn't healthy enough at the time to withstand that type of treatment.
Yeah. That's important, and I think many people out there, like I just gave you the example, they have a hard time with that, where we don't listen to our body, we don't listen to our intuition. We want to be told how to do something, when to do it, and stick to that plan because the professional said to do that. Versus like, hello, this is your own vessel, this is your body, and to reiterate back to what I was telling you about, like I would love to be the first call versus the last call, and going into your animals, like so you went through your cancer and you were still doing your vet practice. At what point did you transition to that?
When I started feeling really good
Mhm.
and I thought, what can I do for my animal patients? I feel so wonderful. Can I extrapolate this type of treatment over to them?
Mhm.
So I started going to every class, every workshop, every seminar that I could to learn more about holistic medicine. And I found out that people were using a lot of things on their animals and they really didn't know how it worked,
Mhm.
but they trusted the process.
Mhm.
And so with all that knowledge I had, I started, using pharmaceutical grade essential oils, pharmaceutical grade supplements, different homeopathic remedies, and, just intuition was a huge thing, Justin. I mean, I
Mhm.
love working, through the intuition because you can get a gut feeling about an animal so much. They're so open. They just
Yeah.
say, here I am, heal me, and they don't have any of those prejudices or those blocks of cement around them like we people oftentimes put up around them,
Mhm.
ourselves. And so they just want to be helped
Mhm.
and they're so open to it. And that's why I love working with the animals in that type of therapy.
Yeah. So how long have you been working with animals again?
I've been a licensed veterinarian for 32 plus years.
Okay.
And then about the last 17 or 18 years, strictly holistic.
Yeah. Wow. What about when you were a child? Let's rewind a little bit.
Okay.
So you had your scare, and then that's when you started switching into a different path. But like, how does one become a vet? You know what I mean? Like when you were a child, were you just always fascinated with
I
animals, or
was. I
yeah,
was a huge animal lover and
yeah,
nature in general.
yeah,
I used to really upset my mom so much because I'd spend so much time outside. And we had cats and we had parakeets. And I remember rescuing a little baby robin after a thunderstorm when I was about 7 or 8 years of age. And it brought it in the house. I said, Mom, we've got to do something. And so, having had parakeets in the past, we had some extra cages. So my mother set up a cage and we put the little nest in there, and I went out and dug up worms and other bugs to feed this little thing, and I fell in love with this little robin. Called it Chirpy.
Chirpy.
Chirpy. And um wild birds, baby birds don't usually live in captivity. And about day 4, she stopped eating. I should say, I don't know what sex this little bird was, but I call it she. And then day 5, I found her dead. And I think I cried for a week solid. I was so attached to that little bird. And so I've always had that attachment to animals, and horses especially have a really near and dear place in my heart. Growing up, I was never like the real popular kid in school. I had several really close friends, but I wasn't in with all the in crowd. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But the animals were my friends and my companions. And I always talk to them, and they would always talk back.
Yeah.
And I never even tried this. I didn't know anything about animal communication at the time, but I knew that we had this telepathic kind of connection.
Yeah.
So
At that young age. So
yeah.
then, like, when you started to mature, teenager, high school, like, was it like you knew instantly, like, hey, I'm going to be a vet?
That's an interesting question,
Yeah.
because if I can interject a little bit about my mom,
Yeah.
I never had a great relationship with her.
Yeah.
She was very critical, and she told me that I would never be smart enough to be a veterinarian. And I thought about, so it got suppressed. She wanted me to be a teacher, which I actually teach now. So that's part of it. But she said, you can be a banker or a teacher. I'm like, a banker, like a bank teller?
Yeah.
I hated math. I hated numbers,
Yeah.
but I really liked the connection with nature. And so as I grew up, when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I started training horses and giving riding lessons. And that just kind of morphed into, like, I'm seeing lameness cases. I'm seeing these horses. In fact, there was one horse that somebody else was training in the same arena as I was, and the horse took off, it bolted, and it came down just wrong on the arena floor and broke its sesamoid bone. So the horse thankfully survived that, but there was major surgery and everything. But it was a case that I was very closely involved with because I loved the horse that had this injury. And so following all the vet visits and the healing, I'm thinking that's what I want to do. I want to diagnose and I want to treat horses, and I want to, but when you go to vet school, you have to learn all the species.
Oh,
You can't just
yeah.
pick one. Yeah. But so that's basically how I decided I want to be a veterinarian.
Yeah.
And I thought, and then I was married at that point, and my mother wasn't influencing my life the way, but I always had that, like, kind of that pit bull determination. I'm going to show her that I
Yeah.
am smart enough to get into vet school.
Yeah.
So,
Prove her.
yeah. And I went as a non-traditional student. I already had a child. She was 2 years of age when I started my pre-vet work.
Oh,
Yeah, having a
you were in
child.
the mix of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you're just like, 18, graduating. I'm going to college to be a vet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it had its challenges, but I do it all over again in a heartbeat. If I could end up where I am now. I've left conventional practice, Justin. I know we talked about that a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to continue to do all these treatments that either weren't working or that they had a potential harmful effect on my animal patients.
Oh, so that's interesting because when you said it out loud, I was like, well, yeah, you're a vet. You got to work with all animals. But is there like a cap? Like, so at school, are you learning about primarily all animals, or can you like narrow it down into like for the state of Iowa, let's say like primarily we're dog, cats, cows, horses, pigs. But if you're in like Africa or, Australia or, working at a zoo, how does that work?
Well, To be a veterinarian, you have to learn all of the diseases and species.
Okay.
Then, if you want to, you can specialize
Yeah.
in small animal medicine or large animal medicine, equine medicine. And at the time, I chose to go into equine medicine.
Okay.
And then eventually, after I developed this is when I wasn't healthy, I developed some really severe allergies to horses. And, if I got a cut on my hand and I was floating teeth and I got a little blood in that cut from the horses, or the saliva, I should say,
Yeah.
into my cut, then my hand would start to swell up. I gave up horse practice pretty much and went small animal at that time.
Uh-huh.
Now, with the holistic practice, I can do all species because I'm doing almost all of my work virtually now.
Yeah. Do you enjoy that?
I
Like,
love
you
it.
do, you
Yeah,
love
I
it?
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know, like, with doing it virtually though, like if you would miss like this, like what we're doing, we're so close to each other and we're having this conversation versus virtually, but some people do enjoy that. So that's why I didn't know if you like miss like going to the animal and like holding it or touching it,
Yeah, I
you
mean, I
know?
do miss that,
Yeah.
but I can reach so many more pet owners or pet parents, what I call them,
Mm-hmm.
than I can just traveling around Northeast Iowa or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people that I've even worked with people in Canada, Mexico,
Yeah. Just all over the
all
world.
over this. Yeah, all
Yeah.
over.
Yeah. Pet parents.
Yeah.
That's what we're calling it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking off air. I was like, yeah, we got a dog. I own a dog. And I'm like, gosh dang it. I hate saying I own a dog or, because I mean, but yeah,
It
pet
would be
parent.
more apropos to say your dog owns you.
He does actually own me.
Yeah.
I mean, he goes outside, he waits at the door, wagging tail, and comes back in. Dad, where's my treat?
Right?
So let's go into this. So you go from the vet, then now you're doing this televirtual. What can you give me an example, like what to expect or
Sure.
touch on it, like what you're doing exactly?
What's your dog's name?
Crosby.
Crosby. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say you contact me because Crosby was just diagnosed with some kind of chronic disease or health condition, say
Mm.
like some kind of autoimmune condition. You have used conventional medications like steroids and perhaps some antibiotics, whatever, is the flavor of the day for
Mhm.
that condition, and you're not getting anywhere, or Crosby's having some issues, like he can't tolerate the medication, or it's just not working,
Mm.
or it's worked for a while. You go off the medication and he gets sick again. And then you'd say, I want to take a holistic route. You look me up on the internet and you see this Dr. Barb Fox, and she does telemedicine consultations. And then you find out from me when you contact me by email or whatever, that we could set up a consultation or a package of consultations. And then we would talk on the phone initially to find out if we're a good fit to work together. Can
Mhm.
I help Crosby? Or
Mhm.
is this a case where I feel like I can't help?
Right.
And sometimes that has to do with the pet parent's trust. If they're really skeptical of it, then sometimes I'll say, well, maybe now isn't the right time.
I reach out to you, um, and what to expect. You're gonna prescribe certain medications. What else could one expect?
Well, actually, I cannot, when I'm doing telemedicine, I
Mhm.
can't actually prescribe prescription
Okay.
medications, but I can prescribe supplements, homeopathic remedies, essential oils, or different therapies like energy devices, like a PEMF mat, to work on Crosby's issues.
Really?
Yeah.
So we're just getting away from that side then and just going this whole side.
Correct. Now,
Whoa.
I do have some patients that still have to be on conventional medications. So, like, say Crosby was still on a regimen of steroids, but we can add omega-3 fatty acids, or we can do CBD oil or something like that in conjunction. So that's what we call an integrative approach when we're using a combination of Western medicine and the holistic or natural treatments. But I also reiterate that I'm going to help you. And some of us work as a team. So I have a handful of conventional veterinarians with their patients
Mhm.
that we work together and we communicate. I'll send them emails or whatever and kind of explain what I'm doing to help. And they're very open to it. So it just
Mhm.
depends on the case and the person.
For sure. I hear you said home cooking?
Huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like home cooking the Crosby example of
Right.
some type of food.
Yeah. Because there's so many problems with commercially prepared dry food
Yeah.
and canned food too. I mean, there's a lot of, and that's a whole nother topic for another day. But
I know. I'm now
yeah,
my like head's turning, and I'm like, so you're saying I should be giving my dog the same food I'm eating?
well, that would be the ideal. It would be ideal because
Well, he gets some from our baby, anyways. He's
yeah.
giving him some table scraps, you know.
Right.
So, but no, I never really thought of it like that. You know, like I mean, we joke around like I was eating an apple the other day,
Mhm.
and Crosby's just staring at me eat my apple. And I'm like, all right, here you go, buddy. He takes a bite of it. And then I take a bite of it, and he's licking his chops still, you know, and he's like, do I get another bite? And I'm like, you know, and it got me thinking about apples
Mhm.
and animals and like deer and even horses and cows and how many other animals like that. But I feel like in today's world, and maybe it's just because this is what I've been used to seeing, is like everything's genetically prescribed. Like the dog food is, you know, ground up dog food, and the cows are eating this feed that's
Yeah.
got how many chemicals in it,
Yeah.
how many steroids in it. Same, I grew up on a farm too. Same with the pigs. I mean, but I can remember at one point we were letting the cows out to the pasture or putting them in the cornfield to eat the corn stalks or whatever it was. But now I'm looking at it, you know, and seeing how time has changed. Like a pig is eating just powdered grain. And
Mhm.
that's it. Where when I was growing up, whatever scraps we didn't eat
Right.
got fed to the pigs.
Uh-huh.
And the pigs were eating the left. I mean, there was no food that ever got wasted,
Right.
you
Right.
know, and how different our genetics. I mean, now looking at a pig now versus a pig then, and how the genetics, and it's interesting,
Yeah. Very.
you
Very.
know?
You know, and my whole thing is I like to feed my animals what nature intended them to feed. My horses get hay
Mm-hmm.
and they get a little bit of grass just because they're older and they have a little bit of tendency toward metabolic issues right now. So they get hay and they get minerals. Minerals are huge with any animal, including us.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get water that comes straight from our well that's 800 feet deep. So
Mm-hmm.
they get really good quality water. My cats, they get a diet of either raw or home cooked. And
Mm-hmm.
since I am busy, I understand it's really challenging to home cook meals for pets, but there are
Right.
really some good options that are commercially prepared. They don't get any dry food except for my barn cats. They get supplemental dry food. They're out hunting. They also get raw food. They get, I go to the locker and I'll buy a beef liver from the locker and chop it up into tiny pieces and they'll get that. So they get a lot of good nutrition.
So what about dogs then?
Well, dogs, they are a lot of times people get upset with me, Justin, because
Yeah.
I will call them carnivores. And they'll argue and say, well, they're omnivores. They can eat vegetables. Yeah, they can eat vegetables, but to thrive, they really need meat and
Meat.
organs and chewing on bones.
Well, I think of
Raw.
a wolf,
Yeah,
you
right.
know, or
Yeah,
a coyote.
right.
You know, we live in Iowa. There's coyotes. It's breeding season right now. Like, what are they always going after? A dead carcass,
Correct.
you know?
Hmm.
And I look at my dog Crosby when I take trash out and we forget to put it inside of our garage. He's
Oh.
out there ripping through the trash, trying to get the meat off the
Right?
bone, you
Exactly.
know?
Yeah.
So do you have then some of your clients doing that,
Yeah,
like feeding them?
absolutely. Mhm.
Like, let's say tonight I'm making, and then that this is where this could get a little, you know, sidetracked here, but I'm making hamburgers tonight.
Uh-huh.
Does Crosby get a little hamburger meat?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as it's not seasoned heavily,
Yeah, yeah, we don't do that
Yeah.
anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I tell people even if they don't want to or they think they can't afford a homemade diet or a commercially
Mhm.
prepared diet, at least if they still have to feed dry kibble, they
Yeah.
can at least spruce up the bowl.
Right.
Top it with some meat, some hamburger or some baked chicken or turkey or whatever.
I ain't gonna lie, I kind of feel bad right now because like I'm like think about Crosby, my dog, and like the dry food that we do because to be honest, that's what I thought. But then as you look at animals, and I'm an outdoorsman, and you see what a dog is. I mean, it is an ancestor of a wolf, you
Correct.
know, and it's like what are they out eating and everything? They're not eating dry food and
Right.
and who knows really what's in our dry food. I know there's some minerals and stuff, but I don't really know what's in it. I'm just doing it what my vet says,
Well,
or like, hey, you should be eating this here,
right.
and it's like, okay,
Well, here's my simple 101
right.
for dog food: commercially prepared dry kibble.
Mm-hmm.
It is heavily heat processed. It is under high pressure when it's manufactured. And if there's any nutrition in that food to begin with, it's all destroyed by that process. So then the company has to, after the kibble is made, they have to take a synthetic vitamin and mineral mix and spray it onto that dry kibble of food to get it to even pass minimal standards. And if you think about it, synthetics are they're just not recognized well by the body. So if an animal can even absorb any of those synthetic vitamins or minerals is beyond me. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I say, if you can get to that fresh food, what I call a fresh food
Yeah.
diet, and then we don't have to worry about pesticides and glyphosate and
Oh
all
yeah.
that other stuff that
Yeah,
we're
and
exposed to.
what about like going into that? Because now I'm just thinking of my dog.
Uh,
Uh, quantity. Like, how do you know, I mean, the right amount of quantity? I mean, because I look at like some horses and some dogs and some cats, and they just don't know when to stop to eat.
right.
They
Well,
just keep going.
you start with a general guideline,
Yeah.
and like 2.0 to 2.5% of body weight for a dog or cat is a general guideline to start. So then you just calculate that out. And I have a very unscientific way of feeding animals. If I have too heavy of an animal, off. If they need to be, if they have to have more weight on, just feed them more,
Yeah, we're going old school. Not everything
Yeah.
has to be so scientific.
Right. And we humans make it complicated.
We do.
You
We
think
do.
about the wolf or the coyote, and then, people worry about a balanced diet.
Yeah.
Okay, so balanced diet is a myth, and I'll tell you why. Because if you look at how nature operates, that wolf might go out and kill a bunny and eat the entire thing.
Mhm.
It's got its meal for the day. The
Mhm.
next day, it may not go out and find anything to eat. And it
Mhm.
has to forage on maybe some corn out in the field or whatever, just a little bit to satisfy its hunger. The third day, it might go out and find half of a carcass that's already eaten, and they clean up the rest. So
Mhm.
balance happens over time. And this is where a lot of people get tripped up. They think they have to be a nutritionist or, have some kind
Right.
of certification to feed an animal, but nature doesn't make it that complicated. We do. Does
Yeah,
that make sense?
it does make
Yeah.
sense. Well, I know you got my head turning right now, and I'm sure you probably got a lot of our listeners that will be listening to this the same thing. Like, huh? Because again, there's so many things stacked against it. It's education, it's, you know, laziness, because let's be real, like,
Dry food's convenient,
right.
right?
Yeah. And you know what? Like even ours is on a timer. You fill the thing up, it
Yeah.
feeds it every morning. But it's like thinking about it like, geez Louise, I never really actually thought this in depth of our pet,
Mhm.
and how important that can be to it, to them, and so forth. So
Right. And so I liken the dry food to cereal.
mm-hmm.
And that's basically what it is. Because there has to be a certain amount of starch, carbohydrates in that dry food to get the kibble to hold together in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Now, dogs don't break down starch real well. Cats are obligate carnivores, meaning that they cannot break starch down. But yet you'll have maybe dry kibble for a cat has 45% carbs in it. And
Mm-hmm.
cats were not meant to break that down. So that's why we see so many fat cats and incidences of diabetes, you know?
It's
Oh,
so true, like Garfield.
yeah,
You
right.
know?
Yeah.
So now that we're on the food topic and we kind of we hit some ground there with the food, what about, you're saying holistic and we were talking about your journey of healing with cancer. Like, can we go into routes with pets now too, as well as that? Like,
Sure.
as far as the owner and the pet, I mean, because I sense with myself, like my dog, I call he's my healing dog,
Yeah.
like he knows when to love me, knows when I'm sad, vice versa for him. I'm sending him Reiki and energy work too every morning when he's sitting on my lap.
Lucky dog.
Yeah, he is, but I love him. And I think that's important to know. Like most people aren't attuned to that energy of their pet and what they take on
Mhm.
from their owner. And even though the owner may not necessarily know they're doing it to their pet, but they're just going through such a hard time that the dog is taking all that, grief from them. And
Right.
maybe it's causing some form of illness on the dog now.
Mhm.
Can you touch on some cases like that and what you do as far as that route?
Sure. I'm just going to start by saying that our pets come to us
Mhm.
as either a protector, a teacher, a guide. I said protector, a
Mhm.
confidant,
Mhm.
maybe just a companion. And so, whatever role they take on, they help us. And so, if the human has some issues, then the pet will sometimes take that on and then they end up ill.
Mhm.
And Justin, I used to keep a list of things that pets and owners shared or pet parents shared. For example, I had a woman that one time she brought her little 2-year-old dachshund in coughing incessantly. We ruled out kennel cough, we ruled out allergies, but there was no rhyme or reason for this cough that we could find out. So I thought, well, we'll just put it on a short. This is when I was still in conventional practice.
Mhm.
And we'll just put it on a short course of prednisone and see if that helps. And I started to go over the side effects that she could, maybe see with her pet being on the prednisone. And she goes, "Oh, you don't need to explain that." She goes, "I have idiopathic pneumonitis and I take prednisone for that." Well, idiopathic means there's no known cause. Pneumonitis is inflammation of the little air sacs in the lungs.
Mhm.
So here I'm like, oh my gosh, it's sharing what the owner's sharing. And then I used to keep track of the dogs that came in with a partially torn or completely torn ACL, anterior cruciate ligament. And I'm going, I'm explaining everything, and they're going like, "Oh, I kind of get that. I just had knee surgery last month." Cardiovascular issues, same thing. Diabetes, even. I've seen that.
So what's the science on it? Do you know that?
I'm sorry?
What's the science on it? Like, as far as like, we're seeing patterns here of where the dog is taking this ailment from the human or the pet owner,
Mhm.
or would you call him
Pet parent.
pet parent? There you
Yeah.
go. Uh,
Mom or dad.
yeah, yeah. Uh, ho- what's happening there? Do you know?
Ins The most scientific term I can come up with is energy entanglement.
Uh-huh.
So that just means that the electrical field of the animal, the electrical field of the human intertwine.
Yeah.
And sometimes that becomes an issue because they share the same energy cycle.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, everything is energy, and yeah, I've always wondered with that. And I mean, there's been studies out actually of even adults and humans where like you had a biological family together living under the same roof and they adopted children that were different race and from a different part of the country. And they come in and live in their atmosphere, their lifestyle. And let's just say obesity, and this child doesn't even eat a lot, but somehow is obese as well, or, you know, some type of anxiety or depression as well.
mhm.
Like it starts getting formed into their psyche. So
Yeah.
it's not that it needs to just be, I think we're just always thinking like hereditary or it's in my blood or I have
Mhm.
this. It
Right.
could just be the environment,
Yeah,
you
and we
know?
call it epigenetics.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it means that what looks like a genetic disorder
Mhm.
is how the environment changes the genes, changes the
Mhm.
DNA. And
Gotcha.
so that can be fixed.
Mhm.
And I mentioned I work with essential oils, or maybe I just kind of touched on
Yeah.
that. So the essential oils have a living frequency. A dried herb has a lower frequency because it's already dried and it's harvested.
Yeah.
But the essential oil, cold pressed out of a, say, like rind of a lemon,
Right.
is the real deal. And it still has this vibrational frequency. Yeah, I love it. And so, oftentimes when we have an issue with, a frequency that doesn't jive between the human and the animal, I'll bring out the essential oils. Frankincense is a great one, and I call it one of the Swiss Army knife oils because it
Yeah.
has up to 150 different activities that it can do on the body. And if I have a pet parent and a pet that I think needs some more harmony, I'll just take a few drops of frankincense, have them put a drop or two in their palm, and then have them cup.
Over the snout or whatever.
Right, and then do that to the dog as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Oh my
amazing.
gosh.
Yeah.
This is so good. Because it's like we are doing this for our family and our humans, but it's like you forget about the four-legged friends,
Right.
and how crucial it is to them. And like touching on the essential oils and like you're talking about that. And like it's been known with even our own food that we eat. Like anytime you cook something versus like eating its raw state, the vibration is significantly lower.
Right.
And so when you were saying the oil versus like a dried or cooked substance, I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Even though it's like I think about like a peach or an apple or even a banana, like a fruit,
Mhm.
they taste really good in their raw form.
Right.
But geez, when you like cook it, like I'm thinking of an apple crisp pie or a peach pie, and you warm up those peaches and apples, the taste is completely different.
Yeah.
It's so sweet. I mean, way sweet. It's like a
Yeah.
different taste,
Exactly.
And like think about that, as far as like dog food or dried powder or any of that stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I know what we
Yeah.
need to talk about is
Yeah.
the emotional side of
Yeah.
disease,
Yeah.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
So animals, a lot of people think that animals don't have emotions or they just act the way they do because they're animals, but that's not true. They experience grief, they experience sadness, and we've all seen angry animals, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Cat that hisses or the dog that
Oh yeah.
growls,
Yeah. Yeah.
they're mad about something.
Mm-hmm.
Or the horse that's flighty because it's scared. So fear is a huge thing. But they also experience joy
Mm-hmm.
and elation,
Happiness. Yeah.
happiness, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And they experience love. I mean, like you mentioned when Crosby
Yeah.
waits for you to come in the door and
Oh,
he's so excited,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's so great.
Mm-hmm.
But emotion can also bring about physical ailments. For example, when I had the cancer scare, I had just gone through a short of 1 day, 20-year marriage. My divorce is final. And it was a bad situation.
Mm.
I have a permanent no contact order
Mm-hmm.
for my ex-husband. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
really happily married now. I've been
Yeah.
married 26 years now to
Yeah.
my soulmate. But
But during this time.
but during that time when I had the cancer, all these emotions of not feeling good about myself or despondency, despair, what's the use? That kind of
Mhm.
mentality. In the cancer in Louise Hay's book, Heal Your Body, she talks about how cancer is like the thought that something is eating at you.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about it, cancer eats your body up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I knew then that I had to change my whole psychological outlook so that I could heal completely from that cancer scare. So with the animals, it's the same thing. If they live in a chaotic household where there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of fighting between spouses, or kids are
Yeah.
giving their parents grief, the animals can sense this and they take it on. And so we have to provide them a safe area to
Yeah.
survive and thrive. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
It does. Yeah. And how important that is, I think many humans out there like take pets for granted. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like
right.
it's
They're
like
just an animal.
Yeah, or even a friend of mine today, she's like, yeah, tomorrow we're going to get our 3-year-old daughter a new dog. We have to drive like 4 hours away, and it's some type of poodle, labrapoodle or something like that. And I'm like, that's cool, but she's like, her 3-year-old daughter is, um, you know, needs some love or friend or whatever. She's like, oh, well, let's get him a dog.
Mm.
And I feel like a lot of people do that, even ourself included. Like when we got Crosby, we were certain we were only going to have one child. And we're like, we should get him a dog because like he's not going to have brothers and sisters. So let's just get a dog. I love dogs. And then, like a year later, we're having another baby. It's like,
Okay.
I won both times. I got the dog and baby.
I love it.
Sorry, honey. But do you know what I'm saying though? Like it sounds like it's almost like manic, is what I'm thinking. Like it's like, oh, for Christmas, I'm gonna get my family a dog or a cat. But then like we forget they are a lot of work. I mean, they are a being, like I mean, yes, they're animal, we're animal, but it's like they need the love too. They need
Mhm.
the nurture. They're going through the grief and anxiety and every
Yeah.
emotion we're going through, but we get wrapped up in our high-paced world that we think we're superior beings
Yeah.
compared to these animals. And it's important to remember that, they're just like us and we're just like them,
Right.
and it sometimes takes a lot, even for myself. I mean, this podcast today is helping me out tremendously
Oh, I'm
as far
glad.
as like what things I can do different for my dog,
Yeah.
and things that I can try harder on. I'm not
Mhm.
saying I can just drop everything and like, this is what we're going to do, but start incorporating, like, I'm making smash burgers tonight. Crosby, you're getting a little mini smash burger tonight,
Yeah.
So
Right?
normally you'd be just getting the scraps from our baby that he gives you,
Right.
So, but it's the
Mhm.
intention now. So like when I'm smashing my smash burgers for my family, and Crosby's sitting there and I'm getting ready to smash one him. Again, like cooking, when we cook food, we put our energy and intention and tension into it.
Right.
And now I'm doing that for my dog as well,
Right.
not just waiting for the timer to go off to give him some dry food,
Mhm. Right.
So it's
And
man,
that brings up something else, by the way.
yeah.
Yeah. So when you mentioned, the, what our animals are here for us to
Mhm.
do, sometimes it hurts my heart
Mhm.
that people put all of their emotions onto their pet.
Mhm.
Um, and I know that like when I've had to euthanize an animal before,
Mhm.
it's heartbreak. It's the most heartbreaking thing I could do as a veterinarian. And I know that
Mhm.
because I'm very empathic, and so I feel the emotions of the animal and the person together.
Mhm.
But sometimes that animal, we have to distance ourselves or cut the umbilical cord, let them be the animal,
Yeah.
not a part of us.
Mhm.
Because when they leave us on this earthly plane, oftentimes our heart goes with them.
Mhm.
And a difficult transition, Justin, has happened many times when the human cannot honor the pet's life and let it go.
Mhm.
Now, I've had to euthanize my own animals before.
Mhm.
It's the toughest thing I've ever had to do.
Yeah.
But I know that they came to me for a reason. Their job is done. And
Mhm.
I honor that. And I don't try to keep them, like spending 10 or 15,000, $20,000 like some pet parents I've heard do to keep an
Yeah,
animal
alive
going when its time is done.
to go.
And I don't mean to be insensitive at all about that.
No, I think this is important, and I don't feel that at all from you. I mean, you can relay that story into humans as well,
Mm.
like husband and wife,
Yeah.
married for 50 years,
Yeah.
and you just can't move on because that's all I've known, and it's the same thing with a dog. I mean, I had a good friend. She recently lost a dog too, that 20 years,
Mm.
and she was wrecked for how long?
Yeah.
And that's how much they have on our heart, really, and people can have such a great connection with an animal. But it is just as important to like you said, let them go on and now live their next life, and to just honor that, like, I mean, and death in general is to honor it, like, I mean, I'm thinking of, like,
Yes.
funerals even, and, like,
Yeah.
why do we even have funerals? Like,
I
they celebrate
know.
like, when my mom died, she had a celebration of life, and we had music playing, we were dancing, and it was like, I mean, yes, there was tears and stuff, but it was, like, the best funeral I've ever been to, hands down, in my entire life,
Right.
and it was my own mother, but
Mm.
it was just, like, the fact that it was the celebration, it was the honor, and it makes it that much easier to transition to the next animal
Yeah.
that comes to our life,
Right.
because they sense that
They
too,
do. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
think about the owner that's, loses a dog and is still grieving, but then immediately goes out to buy another dog because he needs to fill his cup up because he's still hurting from his other dog. And that other dog can now sense that he's going through that still. I mean, dogs know, we talked a little bit about that on
Yeah.
air, that animals have an extra psychic sense that we don't,
They do.
that they can feel.
And they don't have the fear of death
Yeah.
like humans do.
Mhm.
They can go, and I've had animal communicators tell me that animals look at death as part of the life cycle, and they actually have a celebration.
Mhm.
So, and that brings me to another point. I don't know what you believe, but have you ever had a pet that has died and then you dream about that pet like it's in real life, or you actually have a vision of that pet or
Mm.
that horse or
Mhm.
whatever it is? Have
Mhm.
you ever had that happen?
Mhm.
Tell me
Mhm.
about it. I'm curious.
Yeah, well, I had, before Crosby, I had a black lab, and he was a puppy, and he went everywhere I went, and, he was probably about a year old when he died. He got hit by a
Oh,
truck literally right out here.
wow.
And yeah, so, and he wasn't dead either. Like, when he got hit, I
Oh.
had to pick him off the road, and then he died in my arms in the ditch. But 2 kids got saved because they were walking, so a truck
Ooh.
swerved to miss the kids and then hit my dog because the dog was running after the
Oh.
kids to, like, make them aware, "Hey, there's a car
Oh
coming,"
my gosh.
But
There's his
he
purpose.
yeah, it was. It
Yeah.
saved the kids' lives, which I was so grateful for, but I was also so mad because the kids were crying. I'm like, "Get out of here," like,
No.
and then he died in my arms, and, I went out and dug him a cemetery, said a prayer, yada, yada. But then, like, this was, like, multiple reoccurring dreams. His name was Alice. And
Alice?
Alice. Well,
Okay.
so, like, actually, my dad farmed, and, we had Alice Chalmer tractors,
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Alice, and then the song, like, "Who the f is Alice?"
Yeah.
But no, he would come to me, almost like the same appearance. He's a black lab, so he's a very dark, dark-looking dog, but come to me, like, as almost, like, Native American, where we'd be sitting around fires. I'm just, like, recalling the memory, and it's like he would, like, almost prop up next to me and watch the fire with me and just
Mm.
sit there in presence, to let me know that what he had did was his purpose. But going back into that, like, yeah, as challenging and as hard that was, losing a dog, because it happened right in front of my face, but then to get reassurance, through a dream, that to let me know, hey, my time was here and it's served,
Yes.
and I didn't dwell or resent the guy, because even the truck driver turned around and was like, "I'm so sorry."
Mm.
And all I could say was, "Get the hell out of here," because I needed to process my own
Right.
emotions. Um, but it didn't, like some people would have been like, "I'm never getting another dog," or "I'm never."
The hurt's too great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that didn't scare me. It was the fact, like, "Hey, honey, I think we're done having kids. How about we get a dog for our son?"
Right?
So, yeah, what about you? Have
Oh,
you?
yeah.
Yeah.
I had a heart horse. His name
Mhm.
is Stormy. In fact, I wrote a book about my 3 Arabian geldings
Mm.
that 2 died 24 hours apart from each other.
Mhm.
And then the remaining one, Stormy, he was my heart horse from the get-go. I'd met him as a yearling out in a pasture with 40 other horses, because I was visiting some friends, and that
Mhm.
was their farm.
Mhm.
And we just had this, even he was a yearling, and I hadn't even touched him. We had this connection.
Mhm.
And I thought, "That's such a beautiful yearling."
Mhm.
And I just had this soft, warm, fuzzy feeling about him.
Yeah.
Years later, he came up for sale. He was a show horse for many years, and then he came up for sale. I was contacted by a trainer saying, "We've got this horse here. He really needs a good home." The high school girl that was riding him, she's into boys and dating and partying and all that, and the horse is just basically standing around not doing anything. So we end up getting Stormy. And then he
Mhm.
was my daughter's show horse for a while, and then just basically retired on the farm.
Oh.
He um he got a condition called Cushing's syndrome, and it's kind of a metabolic problem with horses. And I was at a Young Living Essential Oils conference in Salt Lake City. It was a supper. We were sitting around. It was part of our training, but I was there with my brother and his wife, and my husband had to stay home and take care of the animals. And I made Gary promise me that he would check on the horses at least 3 times a day, make sure, because it was
Mhm.
hot. There were tornado warnings out, when I
Mhm.
was gone. I just want to make sure the horses were okay. And he'd gone out at 9 o'clock that night. It was in June. And Stormy was up by the water tank drinking and just acting normal. The next morning, Gary went out to check on him. He was out in the pasture, completely flat out. And it was like his tongue was between his teeth. It was like he had this major heart attack, and he was dead before he hit the ground.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, that was such a hard one to bear. And
Mhm.
I ended up, I think, crying for 4 hours that night. Just my heart was just broken.
Yeah.
And then I could feel his presence in that pasture. And there was a time when my husband, as skeptical as he was about seeing things
Yeah.
and incarnation and all that, he told me one day, he says, "Barb, I saw Stormy today." I said, "What?" This is probably 7 years after he was dead.
Mhm.
He goes, "He was out there by the corn crib,
Mm.
and he was healthy. He was shiny. His tail was straight up in the air." And I said, "How long did you get to see him?" He said it was just a blank, and then he was
Mhm.
gone. And then
Mhm.
I had an animal communicator verify that for me. So
Mm.
it was amazing,
Yeah.
And we've had other animals that have come, like my husband, the skeptic. We had a cat
Mhm.
that died from rectal cancer,
Mhm.
and I ended up having to put him to sleep.
Yeah.
And Gary doesn't take death well at all, so he had a
Mhm.
really hard time of it. And it was about 2 months after Tommy died when he woke up almost in a sweat in the middle of the night. He said, "Barb." I'm like, "What?" I'm in a deep sleep. "What?" And he goes, "I just felt Tommy rubbing on my leg."
Mhm.
And he said, "It was so real." I
Mm.
said, "Gary, it was real. That
Yeah.
was Tommy saying I'm okay."
Mhm.
So I'm hoping, and I hear a lot of people tell me stories about
Oh,
their
for sure.
passed on animals.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about that off air even, like certain animals that come into our life, being the same soul,
Yes.
where and what we mean by that, or what I was explaining to Barb off air was, yeah, we're like, some people are like, "What's going on right now?" It's like,
Uh,
no, so same soul as in like same personality, same everything, yes, but different looks,
yeah.
I was just explaining to you about my one dog, Missy, and then Crosby. Um, two different dogs, but same tendencies, like the way they cuddle me, the way they hold me, the way they just wag their tail right, the way they think they need a treat every time after going to the bathroom, and it's like, no, you don't. But to go on that is like, why do you think that is? That is it like a teaching or protector? Because you were saying each animal, there's a protector, there's why they come into our life
Mhm.
for a reason.
Yeah, right.
Is
I think it's divine intervention saying, "Look, your animal, your pet, your loved one is still here. And I know that I sense my dad's presence. My dad's been dead for 20 some years,
Mhm.
but I still sense his presence at times. And I dream about my parents a lot. They're
Mhm.
both gone.
Mhm.
And I dream about our deceased animals a lot too. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's so real, it's like takes your breath away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. But how beautiful it is though,
Yes.
because that gives, people hope.
Yes.
Gives you hope
Mhm.
to where, and to be honest, like in this field, when you see enough of those synchronicities
Mhm.
and they keep happening to you, the more they keep happening. And like you were saying to your husband, Gary, right? Is his
Mhm.
name?
Yep.
Yeah. It was like, well, I seen this. Of course you did. And you're reassuring him that he did see that. And then he starts to believe it now. And then
Right.
they start presenting themselves to him more,
Right.
so it doesn't have to be as bad as we always make it sound, death.
Right.
It can be beautiful and it can be sometimes, even more rewarding,
Right. Yeah.
and I know that's a hard one to grasp, but
Well, the spirit world
mm-hmm,
is amazing in itself, and I know that I guess when I have to say goodbye to one of my pets, it's I'm going to see you again. I know that we're going to be together again.
heck yeah.
And
Mm,
yeah, so it does help.
mhm,
And I hope that anybody listening today, Justin, will kind of like if that can give them any comfort at all, if they've lost a loved one or a loved pet, that
mhm.
we will be reunited again some way.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. So do you get many humans coming to you, like, with help for them too, or is it just pets?
Well, I
That's why.
used to work with just the pet.
Uh-huh.
And now with a new consulting package that I'm working on called Radiant Health Reset,
Okay.
it's going to be involving the pet parent and the pet, or the
Mhm.
horse, I should say, not just small animals. It
Yeah.
can be horses too,
Mhm.
because like we talked about earlier, that energy entanglement oftentimes prevents an animal from getting better because the human is holding them back.
Mhm.
Now, that's unconscious. It's not a conscious type of holding back, but
Right. They're not purposely.
I have to help the human get better so that the animal doesn't have to take on or work so hard to keep their human healthy, if that
Mhm.
makes any sense at
It
all.
does, it
Yeah.
does. So this is what you're diving into a little
Yes.
bit newer.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
getting ready to ask you, where are you gonna be going here
That is
from
my new thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about animals, like primary animals? Is it pets, that you're working with?
I work with
Um,
a equal number of horse people or
yeah.
horses and their people
Mhm.
and pets, the small animals, the cats and dogs. I'll even work with livestock if somebody asks me to.
Mhm.
Um, and the beauty of doing distance healing or
Mm.
energy healing is I don't have to be in the same
Area.
geographical area. And you know
Mhm.
that. I know
Yeah.
you know that. I'm
Yeah.
just saying for your
Yeah.
listeners
For
here,
sure.
it's easy to tap into their and I call myself a medical intuitive. Not and I'm not going to call myself an expert, but I feel so many things with the animals. In
Mm.
fact, there's a little story I have to share with you.
Yeah.
Years ago, when I was doing a lot of essential oil work and emotional releases with animals with essential oils, I had a guy, big strapping guy. He was older, probably 65, and he was probably 6'4", big guy. And he had this
Mhm.
little tiny Yorkie. And this was the sweetest little Yorkie in the world.
Mhm.
And he wanted my help because he said, I don't know what's wrong with her. And I can't remember the dog's name, but I said, well, what's going on? Well, she's just always wanting my attention. And as we were talking, the dog would try to get up on his leg
Mhm.
to jump on his lap, and he'd just continue to say, "No, don't do that. Don't do that." And it was hurting this little dog's
Mhm.
feelings. And
Mhm.
so the dog was trying to work harder and try harder.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
had to very gently say, "You need to just pick her up and
Mhm.
love on her a little bit more.
Mhm.
She's feeling your
Yeah.
frustration."
Yeah. Feeling left out, not
Yes,
even loved.
right. So
Oh.
that's just one example. There's so many I could get into.
Yeah. Do you see yourself doing this for quite some time
I'm never
still?
going to retire.
Never gonna
No,
retire.
no.
That's good. That's good.
As long as I have my mind.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And I can still type.
Yeah, plus you do I seen you had like did some retreats too. Is that with
Oh,
animals or is that completely different?
well, I'm having a workshop in May, actually. It's the
Yeah.
first weekend in May. Just 7 people. I'm limiting it to just 7, and it'll be in my sacred earth cabin
Mm,
where the energy is awesome.
mm-hmm.
And what I'm going to be doing is teaching people about crystals and their healing abilities, essential oils.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into hands-on energy healing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to be doing live demos. They'll be also able to participate in
Mm-hmm.
exercises like trying to find, I might hide a crystal, amethyst crystal somewhere in our grove of trees, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll have to use their intuitive skills to go out and find it.
Oh, for sure.
Fun things like that.
Yeah.
But then I also have live animal demos too, so they can learn how to balance the animal chakras. For
Mm-hmm.
those of you who don't know what chakras are, these are metaphysical energy centers in the body that relate to actual physical nerve bundles in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be able to assess the chakras and, get them fixed
Mm-hmm.
without professional help. I just want to empower more people to be doing the type of work that they need to do to heal their animals rather than
Mm-hmm.
depending on running to the vet, spending $1,000, $2,000, coming home with just medications but no supplements, that kind of thing. Yeah, if I can empower people, and I know that you like to do that too,
Yeah,
Justin.
that's awesome though.
Yeah.
So I know, which is great. I know that 7's kind of a small number, but I mean, that's good because it's like then I feel like the smaller it is, the more
I have more time.
connected.
Correct.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you can be more thorough for like, it's like, man, I want to do that up. How often do you do that?
Well, I had 2 sessions last year.
Mm-hmm.
And just because I've been so busy doing the telemedicine
Yeah.
consultations, I haven't had a lot of time to devote to those retreats and the workshops.
Mm-hmm.
But I used to travel to like Minnesota and work with horse people up way up by Brainerd. No, not Brainerd, Bemidji, way up there.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a group there for a couple of years that I would go up 2 or 3 times a year and work with them. So the possibilities are endless. And I would like to do more intimate one-on-one types of workshops and so
Mm-hmm.
forth. So yeah.
Have you, I gotta ask, because there's this girl, I don't even remember her name on Facebook, but I think she's in like South America. Um, and she's got probably, I don't know, at least that I've seen on her videos that she uses like 4 or 5 different horses. She's in the middle of the woods and she'll set up like massage table bed in the middle of the
Oh, I've
woods.
seen that.
Yeah, and then she brings
Yeah.
her horses in and she does energy work
Yes.
like Reiki or some type of
Uh-huh.
energy healing work on the client, then also with the horses. And the horses surround the massage table and you can see the horse's eyes. They close and they start like fluctuating and their nostril or nose starts like and you can see even their bodies like kind of fluttering and shaking a little bit.
Yeah.
And you can so see it that they're doing healing work
Mhm.
on this client like human.
Yes.
And that's why I was wondering, like, I mean, to be honest, like there was a time there, me and Chelsea were kicking that idea around because we love
Really.
animals, but I was so intrigued by it because, like, you watch video after video, and yes, animals, I mean, there's the proof right there, like how healing they are for us,
Yes.
And again, to remind people out there, like, yes, they're healing us, but we need to heal them as well,
Right. Right.
But I didn't know if you've seen that in person or
I
anything
have,
like that.
and there is also another method. I'm going to chop up the name of it because it's a German term. It's Gestalt.
Okay.
Gestalt. And it basically is, and I saw this, I would not have believed it, Justin, had I
Yeah.
not seen it with my own eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But it involves the human standing in the middle of an arena
Mm-hmm.
or some kind of enclosure.
Right.
And then one horse is brought in. That horse will go out, come up to the human and sniff all over. So say like the horse sniffs the right hip.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is some kind of thought process from that right hip
Mm-hmm.
that the facilitator can tell the human or ask the human questions like, is there something going on financially? What are you stuck with? Why don't you want to walk forward in life? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was so amazing. This one woman, she ended up bursting into tears.
Mm-hmm.
And because the horse had put its head right on her left shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that related to something I can't remember what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But when the facilitator asked that girl what was going on or if this was true, just when she burst into tears, she goes, absolutely. So the horse knows. Horses have huge metaphysical hearts.
Oh, yeah.
Not that our pets don't, but
Mhm.
horses are just one of those really sensitive creatures and they can sense so many things.
Yeah. What about your own horses?
What about them?
Well, I mean, like, do you still ride them?
Nope, they're retired.
They're retired.
Yeah.
So then do you get to, I mean, I know you go out and talk with them and stuff, but
Mhm.
have you experienced any like healing work with them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Daisy, she's my paint mirror. She loves the interaction. She loves to have me pay attention to her to the point where if they're hungry and I take out a bundle of hay, put it down, if I start to caress her or just do some energy work over her, she'll stop eating and just stand stock still. And you can see her eyes and her ears are going like this,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Chaser, I call him my dog. He's my Arab gelding.
Chaser?
Chaser.
I love it.
His true name is Storm Chaser.
Okay.
Because when I had Stormy, that was my heart horse that died,
Yeah.
we had to find a buddy for the remaining horse. And so we found him, and believe it or not, he had many of the same bloodlines that Stormy had. And I'd never seen this horse ever in my life. But anyway, Chaser, Storm Chaser, because he was we like to chase storms. My
Yeah.
husband and I do.
Yeah.
And then also because Stormy was the predecessor to
Yeah.
him, we just named him Storm Chaser.
I love it.
But he will be my dog, and he's got to sniff everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also the sentinel. He'll stand out. If there's a deer around, he is laser focused on that deer.
Oh, yeah.
And-
Watching.
Right. But a lot of times he can sense emotions so well that if I'm down about something or I'm just a little bit sad, I'll go out, just be in his presence, and he'll bring me right out of that.
Mm-hmm. Is it the same with your husband too?
He's a little bit tougher nut to crack. Okay.
We are.
But when we first got together, he said, I've never had cats in the house. I said, well, you mean you're going to make me give up my 4 house cats?
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe we can put baby girl outside. No. Well, and so he almost had me convinced we weren't going to have cats in the house. Now he's the one that shouldn't we bring I can't even think of the name right now, but
Yeah.
we had 7 cats at one time. That was his idea.
Mm-hmm.
Indoor cats.
So he's warming up.
softened.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
softening.
Yeah.
Well, do you have? We've kind of covered some ground here today.
A lot,
Yeah.
I'd say.
Do you have some messages? Like, I mean, I learned a lot about just pets, but do you have something that you can think off the top of your head that many pet owners are missing? Like in something so easy that we could do to be better pet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Pet parents.
Pet parents. Gosh.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to say pet owners. That's going to be a tough one to
We
break.
have cat moms, we have dog moms, we
Yeah.
have dog dads, we have
Yeah.
cat dads, we
Yeah.
have horse parents,
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, I can say without a doubt, I see way too many pets that go to the vet clinic way too often. They're over-vaccinated. They're over-medicated with commercially prepared flea, tick, heartworm medications. And if we want to keep our animals healthy, we have to go back to the basics. Keeping their immune systems healthy with a good diet, eliminating as many of the chemicals as we possibly can. Even, like I have a lot of pet parents I have to talk about, like not using scented laundry detergent or dryer sheets because their animals are too sensitive to it. So if we can get back to treating our animals the way nature intended, that would be
Mm,
my goal, is to teach pet parents how to do that.
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. What about even like bathing them? Because I was just thinking about our dog now that you were saying all that.
Well,
He,
do you overbathe Crosby?
I would say probably once every 12 to 14 days, roughly. But
Depends on what. If he rolls in manure, obviously you're gonna have to
well,
bathe him,
yeah, and he's
right?
an inside dog, you
Yeah.
know, and sometimes he gets a dead animal, and
Yeah.
it's like we got to give you a bath. But I'm saying, as far as like the shampoos and stuff like that,
Oh,
what should we be using, or what? Because you're saying all like natural and stuff, and I'm like, well, geez, I think we're using like I don't know what it's called, some Burt's Bees or something like that off of Amazon shampoo for little dogs. Something more natural,
well,
or
Burt's Bees isn't that bad,
yeah.
but you have to look at the ingredient list. And a lot of times I will teach my pet parents how to read a food label, read a label on anything, and
Mhm.
then show them what the triggers are, what the red flags would be. So
Mhm.
anything with scents, if it's not a natural scent, say like if it's a good quality essential oil product, that's fine. But
Mhm.
if it's a synthetic fragrance or perfume that's added, stay away from that. Cats with litter boxes,
Yeah. Smell, yeah.
I mean, I can't even walk down a
Yeah.
big box store where they've got all the laundry detergents and
Yeah.
even the cat litters that are scented so heavily. I can't
Mhm.
stand that.
Well, that's what I like wonder, or notice, even like with our dog, we get done like washing him, and then I'm drying him off. And once he gets done getting dried, immediately he jumps on our bed and rolls around in our bed, goes on the floor, rolls, and like, so he's trying to get the scent off of him
Oh,
and then get hit our scent back on him. You know
right.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying? At least that's what I'm interpreting, because that's what he's
Yeah.
doing. So it's like, what do you do? Okay, I understand you might not like how that smells, but then it's like, now I can see you're getting my smell back on you,
Yeah.
so I didn't know, again, the whole difference of, well, today's podcast and holistic is getting away from, you know, kind of being told what to do, and use your intuition and
Yeah.
go from a more natural a way,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you support the immune system, keep it healthy, that's
Mhm.
what our God-given gift is. We can keep ourselves healthy. We can keep our pets healthy with
Mhm.
doing holistic therapies and products.
Yeah. Oh. Any final words for our listeners out there?
Just, I would say, do your research with everything. Don't accept anything just because you've been told, like you just said, because
Mm.
you've been told to do it. Um, and don't be afraid to stand up. If you feel like a therapy or a vaccination isn't what your animal needs, then stand up and be strong.
Yeah.
You and I, as pet parents, we know our animals better than anybody who only sees our animals once or twice a year, right?
And you say that, and I can't help, because I mean, like, well, today on the New Human Podcast, we're talking about animals and and a vet here, Barb Fox. But everything you're saying can keep getting applied back to the human,
Absolutely. Yeah.
where it's the same thing, where it's, you know, like you said with the animals, we know our animals better than anybody because
Mhm.
we're around them.
Right.
Now, don't you think you know yourself better than the doctor knows you?
Correct.
Because you're
Yeah.
in your own body, you know it. But
Mhm.
again, it's just accepting the responsibility,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
taking charge.
Right.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So okay. I'm sure you're going to be getting lots of questions. I know I had a lot of questions during this interview. But if somebody's curious that listened to today's podcast, how does one reach out to you, or pick your brain? Or maybe you don't want them to pick your brain. What would you like to be contacted if you wanted to share anything?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I offer free, I hate the word discovery call, but like an
Mhm.
introductory call to find out if we're a good fit to match or
Right.
or to work together. So
Mhm.
people can contact me on my website. So the website is drbarbfox.com.
Okay.
My email is drb, like
Mhm.
Dr. Beef, and that's fox at yahoo.com.
I'll have show notes
Okay.
in this video. It'll like spell it out and stuff.
Okay.
And then we'll have you send us a couple links and stuff
Okay.
too. So we can post that all in the show notes for people.
Okay.
Yes, Barb. This has been great.
It's
I
been my pleasure, Justin. This is fun.
We're gonna have to do another one
I
because I
know.
feel like I have a lot more questions, but I'm like, we kind of covered a lot of ground today, and yeah, I think we're gonna do an episode 2.
Good.
Go more into detail.
Sure.
You know,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you and
I
thank you for
appreciate
coming.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning into today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And remember, hit the like and subscribe button. And if you have any questions or anything, don't hesitate, reach out to us.